Do you agree with Amino Hassan and PJ Carlissimo that this deal is a win-win for both sides?
Well, I think it's a win-win, but I think that, it also depends on how you look at it as well. I mean, if you're the Boston Celtics, obviously Kyrie Irving, you get a good degree of core certainty because he's a championship point guard, a prolific scorer in this game. He's championship tested. You know what he brings to the table. Not only that, on top of it all, he's locked in for the next 2 years plus a player option after that, which we all believe that he'll exercise to opt out of his contract. But if you're Boston, you don't have to think about paying him next summer like you were going to have to think about with Isaiah Thomas. And he's not a miniature 5'9" guard, so that you're worried about having to give $30 million to. And so that definitely helps you while not only are you still in championship contention within the Eastern Conference, but you're incentivized even more because you got a guy in Kyrie Irving who wants it out. And if anybody has an incentive to go against LeBron and to try and beat him, it would be Kyrie Irving. So let's put that in perspective. Then in Cleveland, Isaiah is a big-time scorer. Jay Crowder is a rough rider and a defender who's capable of hitting outside shots, and he's that physical presence to spell for LeBron James, but also to protect LeBron James because a lot of people might go at LeBron James in ways that you don't want your superstar to have to go offend up against on his own. Then you also have an unprotected first-round pick because we all expect the Brooklyn Nets to flat-out stink. They're years away from being relevant. We know that. And as a result, it's going to be a high pick on their part. All of those things into consideration, you got to love what Cleveland did for itself because remember, in the event that LeBron leaves, then you can elect not to pay Isaiah. So you're getting Isaiah's numbers off the books. You're getting LeBron James' numbers off the books. You still got an anticipated high first-round pick to rebuild and retool. All of those things could potentially work in your favor, and that's what's going on right now for Cleveland. So it's a win-win, no question. But I still think for the immediate moment, Boston is at a slight advantage, even though it won't matter much because they still wouldn't beat Cleveland.
Let me ask you about one aspect of the Celtics side of this trade, Stephen A., and that's the assets that Danny Ainge has been stockpiling for quite some time. Cleveland wanted Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum or that first-round draft pick. They got it. But we had heard that Danny Ainge had been reluctant to give up any of those three assets earlier, but now he got to the point that he gave it up. Your take on what he was trying to accomplish by stockpiling all of those assets, but then ultimately giving it up to get Kyrie Irving?
Well, you give it up to get Kyrie Irving because you got a prolific scorer who's championship tested. You don't have just a guy that can play. You got a guy that's proven that he's earned some championship hardware, and you're not worried about how he's going to perform in the biggest moments imaginable. So that certainly helps. Outside of that, there have been times where we scratched our head and we wondered whether or not Danny Ainge was going to go for it. Danny Ainge could have finally been feeling the pressure that was mounting in the city of Boston, where he's done an absolutely outstanding job as an executive in terms of positioning the Boston Celtics to be in this place, but at the same time still reluctant and a bit hesitant to pull the trigger. You got to remember, he could have had his hands on Jimmy Butler if he was willing to surrender a few assets, but he wasn't willing to do that. And I think ultimately the pressure that was mounting in order for him to take the chance based on all the work he has done over the years, combined with not wanting to pay the miniature starter as Isaiah Thomas in excess of $30 million a year after next season, or feeling pressured to do so, he knew that he was going to have to bite the bullet in some capacity. So why not do it now?